good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeannie Krull from North Dakota Assistive, and I have the beautiful Amy Perrone from Minnesota Star, and Tom Gerhardt, our marketing director from actually in Bismarck, from North Dakota Assistive. And we have our interpreter here too, Lori. And so this I think I want to give full disclosure here. We are not accessibility experts at all, but we probably know more than the average bear. And we thought it would be fun to show you guys how to make slides accessible from what we've learned over the years, and go to it. In the next few months, we will be having actual accessibility experts on to talk about things like social media, accessible social media, and how to do great alt text, which you'll learn about in just a little bit. And also for Microsoft Word, accessibility in Microsoft Word. But for today, we're going to tell you what we know, and basically kind of go through, what we've done to make our PowerPoint slides accessible. So I'm in full slide mode right now, but I'm going to, in just a couple slides here, go back to just the normal view as if you're building your slide presentation, because I want to be able to show you things along the way. And feel free to comment and ask questions along the way. I know I've told Tom and Amy to just ask away, and make this as interactive as possible as we can in this format. And we'll go from there. So,
Jeannie, if you don't mind, can we just mention if people are interested in utilizing the captioner, please go ahead and pin her so you keep her in view. And then also, if you have any questions as we go, feel free to enter them either in the Q&A or in the chat, and Tom and myself will be watching for that.
Right. And then enable the captions. There's a button on your in the bottom row of your Zoom, and if they're not showing up, you just need to push that button, I believe. All right, and this is Amy's and my addresses. Then all of these slides will be available, I don't know, in a week or two for you. And Amy's available at amy.perrone, Perron, at state.mn.us. And I'm available at jmkrull at ndassistive.org. So why should you have accessible slides? Accessibility checker, accessibility elements, and we're going to fix some slides. Those are the things we're going to talk about today. So why make your slides accessible? And I think it's pretty simple. With inaccessible slides, you're excluding many people from your presentations and learning all the wonderful things that you have to share. It's as simple as that. And it's the right thing to do. Very short slide, but I just think it's I hear complaints. It's like, oh, it's too hard. But if you're doing it along the way, as we'll show you today, it's not hard, and it just becomes, I don't know, I can't do it without making them accessible now. It's just something you do, and the more you do it, the more you think about it, and then it's just part of making your PowerPoint presentation. And it's super, it's kind of easy. That's why I told Amy, I said, I think I could do this one. And I think, because it's something that we do all day long. And here at North Dakota Assistive, we're always putting presentations together. There's a lot of more complex things that you can learn about this, and but I am not going to teach you those. So.
Jeannie,
right.
this is Amy.
Ahead.
I'm sorry if I just want to chime in on that last side when you mentioned making it more accessible, and you also talked about it's the right thing to do. It's easier to use, right? If we're following headings and things like that, it's very straightforward. I think of it as kind of a plain language, and then it also will help when you post things for searchability on the web too, when things are accessible.
Very good point. Very good point. So I thought I'd put together a very, very inaccessible slide just to kind of give you an example here. We've got a super long link that doesn't even fit on the page. And so not accessible. And I want you to imagine a screen reader having to read that entire link. And then come back to the rest of the presentation. We've got a very low contrast title and to the slide. And one part of it you can read and the other part I can barely read, and I'm right next to it here. We've got, I'm going to show you this, no alt text. And so not only is this a picture of something, but it has text on it as well. So when a screen reader hits this, all it's getting is picture, picture, and I don't have a screen reader and don't use one. It may say something else, but it's certainly not telling the audience or the user, I'm sorry, what's on that picture. And the same with this one. Now, this one, the AI that's built into PowerPoint guessed, said a blue and white red rectangular sign with white text, but which is nice, it's something, but it doesn't tell you anything about that text. So think about all the things that you put together where maybe it's a picture of something and it has lots of great information in it. But it's all within that picture. And if it's not explained in alt text, which we'll go over in a little bit, nobody that's using a screen reader is gonna know what's in that picture. And then I put down here, you know, a lot of times people will put tons and tons of text on a slide, and it's just so much information, and it's, you know, really difficult for someone maybe with a learning disability to handle, and it's just you know, way too much information. And it says here, this slide is not accessible over and over again, and only in one spot it says this is not acceptable. Just so you can all see that. So I don't know, it was 2010 that Microsoft, I actually looked this up the other day. I didn't know when it came out, but the accessibility checker came out for Microsoft. And I don't know if it was for all the products or just like Microsoft Word or something like that, but it was around that time. And I don't think I found out about it until about 5 years ago. And boy, that just changed everything for me. It really let me see how I was creating things really badly, and it has really been a helper for me. And so for everybody who's using Office and PowerPoint, under File, you'll go under File and you'll go to Info, and you'll go under on the left-hand side here, you'll see Check for Issues, and you'll pull down on that, and it'll say Check Accessibility, and that's the one you pick. And you can have, while you're making your PowerPoint, this little accessibility checker on the right-hand side for while you're creating this entire presentation, which can be really helpful. Sometimes I turn it off and I create a bunch of slides and then I turn it back on again and go correct my mistakes. Sometimes I'll do it at the end. It just depends. How do you do yours, Amy?
I also turn mine on right at the beginning, and I thought it was interesting when you were just showing us how you turn it on.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's one thing that I really love about Microsoft is oftentimes there's many ways to accomplish one task. And
100%.
so, yeah, so for me, what I typically do is I work from the screen that we're on right now. And typically you start out and you're on the home tab or home button, if you want to illustrate that, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I would do is I would go across that
Here, let
bar
me get
and
this
then
off of here. Okay, let
that's
me.
okay.
There. Okay, now tell me.
Okay.
So you go under home.
Okay, yep, then I would go to review, which is up there, yep. And then in
Check
the toolbar,
accessibility.
check accessibility, yep. So
Nice.
ultimately we both got there where we needed to be, but we accomplished it in a different way. So I love that you can do the same thing multiple ways. Oftentimes there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be keyboard shortcuts. So lots of ways to accomplish the same task.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So we've got this, and this will be our friend throughout this presentation, and hopefully your friend, if you've never used it before, after this presentation. All right. So alternative text. Alternative text is I don't know what the formal definition is, but um, it's providing text for a screen reader when they get to this slide, for example, it's going to start reading, um, what's here. It'll read the title and it'll read the different pictures and text boxes in order that you put it in. But if you don't put, let's go back to alt text here. If you don't put something in here, it's not going to, it'll just say picture or nothing at all. And so right here, I've got, actually, I didn't know what this was. I think I was very hungry when I was making this slide, to tell you. But this is 3 baguettes on a pan, and that's all I wrote. Now, you might learn that when we have the alt text webinar in, I forget when it is, April or May, you may find that there's better ways to write this. This is the way I did it. I'm definitely attending that webinar, and I'm going to learn all about how to write good alt text, and I do the best I can. This one here, we've got 2 Black women embracing in a hallway. One is smiling and holding a cake. The other woman's face is looking away from the camera. And that's what I wrote to describe that one. I really didn't think there was much else to talk about with the bread. So that's kind of would you guys do anything different with these two?
Jeannie, first of all, I love what you're saying here, and I agree. We do the best that we can. When I am including alt text, I really think about what am I trying to convey with this image? What is
Yeah,
the message I'm trying to get across? And so, in
that's
my
good.
mind, the 3 baguettes on a pan is all that we really need, but maybe for someone else, there's something else they're trying to convey. So I would compare it against the rest of the content that we're discussing. Jeannie, I did want to mention there was a comment in the chat or a question.
Mhm.
Can you share what alt text you use for the logos with text included on the first slide? So,
Oh yeah, sure.
typically for me, and I don't know how you do this, Jeannie, but typically for me, when I'm doing a presentation, I do have our program logo. And so on this particular one, Jeannie has gone back to the first slide and she has highlighted Minnesota Department of Administration Assistive Technology -star. And that is what the alt text says. It just specifically calls out what we are seeing. Minnesota Department. It's just reading verbatim what is on there. Now, that is a question I think we can probably throw at our experts as far as if there's other guidance. But again, what are you trying to convey with that image? Is
Yeah,
what I always go back to. Tom,
yeah.
did
I
you have
mean,
anything else to add to that?
I could do
No,
that. I think.
I think from my perspective, which maybe others can relate to, I just started at North Dakota Assistive in late May of last year. And so I'm still learning a lot too. And I've sought opinions on what people would like to see in alternative text. And it's kind of like I come from a journalism background. Some people just want headlines, some people want a full, colorful story. And so I think it's a really interesting conversation we're having today. And I'm really excited about the alt text webinar down the road.
Too.
But as you've both alluded to already, there really isn't necessarily a correct way I enjoy being descriptive, but I also understand people are busy and some people just want the who, what, when, where, and why.
Yeah, as you can see, we went full bore on this one here.
Jeannie and Tom, we also had a comment from Nicholas who says, plus you cut some slack to graphic design folks like me who often need to copy text out of your slides. And if we can't, it's all grainy screenshots of your content. So that's a great point. In addition to making sure that we caption the images, let's be cautious with the images that we are adding, because sometimes they are really grainy. And is it for sighted users, is it more distracting to have that image, or you know,
Yeah,
think about what you're adding.
right. Somebody was saying the
We have a
generate alt.
couple.
Oh yeah,
We have
go
a couple
ahead.
of more comments before that. What version of Microsoft Office are you using, Jeannie?
This is the most current Office 365. And so it's constantly updating as the new versions come about, because we have a subscription based product.
Jeannie, if I can chime in here too, if you guys want to, if you're using a different version of Microsoft, if you're not using 365, what you can do is go to the Microsoft website and do a search for accessibility features for the version that you are running. Now you're going to find the more current the version, the more features there are. So with the Office 365, they're constantly rolling out new tools and resources, but you will definitely find that, with some of the older versions, there are still built-in tools. It's just not going to be as much.
And so also, if this was like decoration, for example, I would just want to continue on with the alt text here. Let's just say this particular picture was like a background. It was just like just a plain square or something like that. You could then mark it as decorative. And when you do that, it's not going to be read by the screen reader. It's mainly for the sighted users to make it look pretty. And if you put alt text on it and it's just orange square, it's irrelevant and to somebody with a screen reader. So I've heard. And is that what you guys have been hearing as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't really have like if trying to think of some of our slides, like see now this this is in the background. It doesn't even show up as a thing that I can, well, it's not that, but like this, I can't even click on this and add alt text to it. It's just part of the background. So it will not be read to a person using a screen reader. And also some of the things that I did read about good alt text, keep it short, descriptive, like a tweet. That was one of them. Don't include image of or photo of. I can tell you right now that my first attempts at alt text, every single one of them, this is a picture of, and every single one I did was like that. So I'll probably have to go back and fix that. And then it's not necessarily necessary to add text in the title field. And I don't see a title field here, but so I'm not sure what I meant by that, to be honest. And here there's some great information on the Harvard Digital Accessibility on their webpage. And then Microsoft also has some good alt text tips on their website as well.
Jeannie, we do have a comment too
Yeah,
about
sure.
the AI generators.
Oh yeah.
So yes, we're starting to see more and more, especially with the most current version, where alt text is automatically generated for you. And Rebecca had commented that professors oftentimes will see that alt text has been included through an AI generator and think it's good. But as most of us who use this tool know, that oftentimes is not the case. So please double check when AI generated caption is up there, or alt text is up there, because is it conveying what the message you're trying to relay with that image?
So we're going to start with presentation title. Now, this is something I didn't give a lot of mind to, but you know, I would a lot of when I create a PowerPoint, I would save as, because I would want to use certain elements. And this is an actual clip of a screen I'm going to show you in a second. So you'll see I saved as, and I put power up with accessible slides. That's what I saved it as. But the actual title was still Digital Accessibility 10. on that's the actual presentation title in here and the property of it. So what we need to go in and do then is go to info again, and I purposely didn't change it, and then just make it
match your actual
make
title.
it match. Yeah. And then you can add tags and things like that. And that's what Amy was talking about with search engine optimization and things like that. This will also help with that as well. So you really do want your title to match your actual title the way you saved it as well. With I cannot type, and
that's okay. We understand what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish this. Here we go. There we go.
Principle.
And then it's pretty simple stuff, right? And that's all there is to that one. So slide titles. Now, this is the one that surprised me. Another one that surprised me, and I never paid attention. I would, and you'll laugh when I say I tried to make slides pretty, because I'm going to show you a slide that I created in 2002, and you will not think it's pretty, but I really thought it was pretty in 2002. And I would like delete all the things that PowerPoint would give me, and I'd put my own text in where I wanted it, and I'd put my own picture where I wanted it, and basically just do what I wanted to do. I didn't realize there was a point to slide titles. And when you're using a screen reader, for example, and you want to skip to slides and things like that, they all need to be uniquely named, for one. And if you have a slide title where a slide where there is no title, it even like right here, you see in this picture, you'll see there's a slide number 4 is why make your slides accessible. Slide number 5 does not have a title. Slide number 6 says accessibility checker. Slide number 7 says alternative text. So a person using a screen reader is going to go, I have no idea what 5 is, and they may not even hear that. At that part, I don't know if they even hear that piece. So it helps a person navigate your slide presentation. And so and the other piece to it is, if I named, like maybe I have 4 slides on alt text, and I just go alt text, alt text, alt text, alt text. They can't tell what the difference is between those 4 slides. So to make it easy, you could go alt text 1, alt text 2, 3, and 4, or name them something completely different. And how have you guys done that with your PowerPoint presentations?
This is Amy, and yeah, I like when we can put that view up to see what, an overview of what all the titles are. Oftentimes too, what I'll do is, maybe if the content continues onto a second slide, I'd maybe do alt text continued or something to that effect. So it's very clear that we're on the same topic. I also think of these as almost chapters, the titles, so it's a chapter, and the content on that slide is going to fall under that particular heading or that chapter.
And I put it in, I went under view, and there's a lot of different views here, and I put outline view, and that is where you can see all your different titles, and you can also see how your other text on that slide shows as well, and links and anything else.
Jeannie, what a great way to see at a quick high level, am I getting across the information that I want to get on this slide?
Right. right. Especially if you've got a lot of pictures and things like that. I think you can lose it, what you're trying to convey. So let's go back to normal here. So on this slide, I show the outline view, and then again, the accessibility checker is showing that. And right, the very first slide, it says missing slide title. And you can see on this part here, it says 5 with no title. And then my accessibility checker caught it. And so even if I don't catch it, the accessibility checker will catch it for you.
And Jeannie,
yeah,
as we move along here, you're going to show us how we can use that accessibility checker to make the updates, correct?
you bet. Yeah,
Excellent.
we're gonna finish going through these basics, and then we're going to go through some really bad slides that Amy and I put together. Some that she created just recently for us, and then some I actually went back through years of presentations and found some really bad ones. Some that I can, before there was an accessibility checker, and some when there really was one, and I should have used it. Slide reading order. So we talked about what a screen reader sees. So, the slide reading order is about when that screen reader hits that slide, what's it going to read first? And, if you wanted to read the pictures first, then you put those pictures first. If you wanted to read the title and the slide text first, and then the pictures, then you put it. It's your choice how you want it. There's no right or wrong way. It's up to, it's really what do you want to convey on that slide. So there's a picture on the left here is a picture of the accessibility checker, and it's saying check reading order on slides 5, 7, 9, and 17. And then I went to a particular slide here, and it's showing you the reading order. And it says slide title 1, it's called slide titles. And then it's this number 2, it's showing you the text placeholder for whatever text was on that slide. And then it's showing you picture 4 and picture 13. And what I can do is I can pick these up and move them around. And it's super easy, and I'll show you that. And actually, let me see if I can do I was going to see if there was another way like you talked about. This is the only way I know how to do it. So Amy, I'm going to put it back and go back to my old way, and I'm going to do it. But I was going to see if there was another way to do the check slide reading order without having to go into the accessibility. And there might be, I just don't remember. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the accessibility checker open, which I did, and we talked about that. And there was one error, and it said check reading order on my terrible slide that I made you all. And then we went to verify, and you click on that slide 5 or whatever slide you want to fix. And then it says recommended actions, verify object order. So we click on that. And in here is where we can move things around. And you basically click on it and move it up or down. Or you can also click on it and use the little arrow keys that are up there. And it's pretty easy stuff. Any questions on that, Amy? Is that how you do this piece?
Yep, pretty much. And another thing I like too is if you select each piece. So, like number 1, it says title.
Mm-hmm.
Will you just click on number 1 on the right?
Yep.
Okay,
right.
so when I click on that, it then highlights it on the screen. So now I'm going to click on number 2. And then, so for me, I sometimes do this. I do the actual clicking. So then I visually can walk through. I don't use a screen reader. I'm a visual person. So as I'm clicking, then I'm making sure that this is indeed the order that I want conveyed.
There is a question from Megan asking, she says they use headsets for language translation. Can a screen reader be routed through a system like that for attendees?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answers to that. Do you, Amy?
Well, and I guess I want to make sure that I understand the question. I'm wondering if Megan means in regards to kind of testing it on the front end for someone. And if that was the case, we could turn on the voice input on the computer, like, or we could download, you know, if you're someone who really wants to do that, you could install an NVDA screen. It's a free screen reader, just to simulate. I'm wondering if that's what Megan is asking, if you can simulate the experience. And yes, you certainly could do that. Oftentimes though, that gets very time consuming. And so if you are able to follow the templates, the accessible templates that are provided, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, and then also the accessibility checker, in theory, you should be in pretty good shape. Although I know sometimes we will reach out to screen reader users to just vet things for us if it's something that we know is going to be in front of a lot of people and we're not sure of our audience. We want to make sure it's accessible, then we'll have some live testers.
Okay. I do know that I'm almost positive that JAWS comes in many languages. I do know that piece. And so, but I'm not sure. So color contrast. As you can see, we have an example in the title slide of really good color contrast with the black on the white, and very poor color contrast with the excuse me, with the gray here. I also put together a triangle with poor color contrast as well. And the accessibility checker was able to catch this one, but it only caught one of them. It didn't catch this one, which I thought was interesting. And so I found this to not be perfect. And I think it's new too. Newer, you know, as far as one of their updates. I don't think this was the color contrast checker within this accessibility checker. I don't think that was here 5 years ago, but again, I don't know for sure. Because really this is kind of one of the first times when I was putting this PowerPoint together that I actually saw it. And maybe it's because I was really making really bad slides on purpose. I don't know. But so if you click on that, it's telling you, you know, to change your color, your font color. Is changing you to, telling you to change your shape fill, and just taking you right there. So now I can, ooh, it did it. I didn't even get to pick. It put that on there. Ooh, it's burning my eyes. That's really bright. But it changed it for us. So that's nice. So color contrast is supposed to be a ratio of 4 to 5 to 1 for normal text and 3 to 1 for large text. And when I first saw that didn't mean a lot. It's like 4 to 5 to 1. I don't even know what that means. And it's according to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And what I'm going to do is take you to that page, actually, here. And this is from WebAIM's page. And actually, this is their color contrast checker web page. And so what you can do with this color contrast checker is actually hit the color on here. And by the way, this is at webaim.org resources /resources / contrast checker, and the link will be in your slides when you get them. But you can pick on the color picker button here, and then take the little eyedropper and go find, for example, a color with it, and it will actually change to that color. And then I'm not going to do this one because it already is white. And it's telling me that it's 21:1. So it's very, very good. If I were to take the gray though, let's try the gray. And we'll grab that and come back. It's telling me that ratio is 1 to 556 to 1. And that's so not good, or 1.56 to 1, excuse me. So I don't think that the built-in accessibility, the contrast checker is quite up to par yet. I know the slides that you gave me, Amy, it didn't, the ones you tried to make bad, it didn't catch it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. So I think if just, really look at your slides, see if you think that there's a place in your slides that's like, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Regardless, I think if our accessibility checker is catching it or not, I would go to this website and do some checking, or just, change it to a darker color to begin with. And then, so there's some guidelines here for you to check out. And then there's a couple different contrast checkers, and one we just saw and another one from TPGI, which I don't remember what, how that one works, but.
Jeannie,
Any
this is
comments?
Yeah, this is Amy, and I'll just chime in that the TPGI one works very similarly.
Okay.
And if we have any state of Minnesota attendees here, I can tell you that the TPGI color contrast analyzer is in our software center. So that is one that you guys can get access to.
Okay, cool. So this next section here is we don't want to use color only and fonts only to indicate meaning. And so this is an example here of using color only, and it's a question. There's 4 different colored triangles, and the question is which is the right angled triangle, and then the choices are green, blue, red, yellow, don't know, but it's not telling you the green one that's, this way or that way. It's not telling you that type of thing, because look what happens when you take the color away. So for somebody who's colorblind, there's no way we would be able to even tell, which triangle it was. And because they're all different shades of gray, and the answers are only green, blue, red, yellow. And so the person who's colorblind would not be able to answer this question. Another thing is some people will do italicize, something, and somebody who's has a screen reader, I'm almost positive it doesn't read, the italicize. It's certainly not going to tell you which font it is in, and as it reads it. And so you don't want to identify something, put all the things in Times New Roman, and the one that they need to pay attention to, the word they need to pay attention to, put that in Arial. You don't want to do something like that. There's some links on this page that are going to have more insight on this type of identification. And then this next slide is kind of telling you how to do it right. And so here it's the same slide with the 4 different triangles. They're all different colors still, but then they're numbered. So the green one is number 1 and blue 2 and so forth. And then the answers now are green 1, blue 2. So I don't have an example of what this looks like in gray, but I think you can, figure that out. Another piece too for charts and graphs. There's a lot with charts and graphs that we're not going to get into, but the picture on the right, for example, like this is a bad chart. And it's all the different colors that indicate meaning are all very dark colors with no contrast. And so for somebody with that is colorblind, they're not going to be able to really differentiate between those colors. Also, it has a legend at the bottom, and having to go from that legend to the color first of all, it's this tiny square, and you can barely make out the differences in the colors. And you have to go from here. Okay, this blue is 1990. Then I have to go find that blue, and back and forth. So people even with cognitive issues and sight issues where they're trying to track back and forth, that's going to be a problem. So when you're doing a chart, you want to have good color contrast. You want to use alt text by, formatting your chart and putting good alt text. This is a sample chart that demonstrates using colors to indicate years. When this is seen in grayscale, you cannot differentiate. You want to have a title for your chart, and things like that. The better thing to do would be to use, instead of color, using color and a texture. So when you take the gray away, or I'm sorry, when you take the color away, there's still some differentiation. And then I read one of the videos that I linked to on, I believe it's on this one here. There's a YouTube video on this place right here on the link. And she says to take off all the legends. And she says, no legends, just use, number the actual graph parts. And so people don't have to go back and forth. And I think that's probably the best way to do it. That's the way I appreciate it anyways. I have a hard time going back and forth personally. Any comments here at all?
Jeannie, another thought is if you're not able to convey all of the meaning within the alt text, I know sometimes people will put additional information in the notes and then share the notes view with participants, or better yet, if you have a supporting document that maybe has the information in text versus image, that's another good tool to use.
Here's a one I had that was actually on very recent presentation that I did just a couple of weeks ago. And my color contrast was not good, so I went and put this one just a really light. Now I could have maybe made it better. This is a circle chart, and 36.7% is a pale orange there, and 63.3% is this dark blue. I could have done a pattern maybe to make it better on this one. I still think it's pretty good contrast, and it came up okay on the color contrast checker. But it has an explanation of what it is, and it says the top 15 devices make up over 63.3% of all devices provided. Everything else is 36.7. It has a title, of what this is, and it describes it. There's also not a lot going on here either. If I had a lot of divisions, then it might get just more and more confusing. I think one of the tips that I listened to in some of the videos when I was making this is, really think about the charts that you put on your slides. How much do you really need to put on there, and how could you make it better, basically. I see a lot of charts on slides, and for one thing, they never talk about everything that's on there, and there's no way they could read it all. And so maybe it's like, maybe just extract some information from that chart and share that. I've heard that before. So how do you guys feel about that?
I love it. And I keep thinking that, provide options to people, right? So if a chart doesn't work for some people, then what are other ways that we can convey the meaning?
Yeah. The next piece is accessible multimedia. I don't have an example here, but I will on the next chart of a really, really bad video that Tom put together for us on purpose, and so give us some examples. But 3 basics: no flashing content, captions, and audio description. And so And I'll talk about this again when we show the video, but this is one of the mistakes we made when we were doing a video about 5 years ago, and we probably have made it more times than that, but I remember this one in particular. We put up, we had a video running, and it was very dramatic, and we had words flashing across the screen, and with just music behind them. And then it went into some talking in an actual video, but the person who's blind didn't catch any of that. And so we actually went back and had and did audio description over that. But think about all the commercials and things that you see, where even at the beginning of a movie where you see, like, this is a true story, blah 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 blah, and if that's not read aloud in audio description for the person who's blind, they won't even have they won't have any of that information going into the movie or the commercial or anything like that. And it's the same with any type of video, of course, that you put in a presentation. So accessible links, embedding links with meaningful text. This right here is a link, and I embedded, this is the New York Education Systems web accessible site that you can learn some things about how to make accessible links. And so it's an informative link. Avoid using click here or read more. You want to tell them what it is they're going to go to when they do click on that. Here, right down here, is a monster link that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different lines, maybe 7. And if you use something like a link shortener like bit.ly or TinyURL, which I have links to, then you can shorten it to something like this, which is tinyurl.com, and just a few letters. And so it changed it to half a line versus 7 lines, and which can be very nice. Anything on that one, Amy?
Yeah, a couple interesting tidbits here for individuals who are with the state of Minnesota who tried to register using our bit.ly link. Our security did not like that, so we were unable to use it, which was interesting. I did not know that was going to be an issue, and it actually was not an issue for all agencies. So I guess it depends on the security level. But one thing I did find the other day when I was copying a link, and I was doing it from Microsoft Edge, Microsoft Edge condensed the link for me. And so so when I copied the Minnesota Star Program website, and then when I pasted it into my document, it said Minnesota Star Program, which I don't know if that happens on all websites when you're on Microsoft Edge, but I thought it was interesting because typically I'm a Chrome user. So fun thing for folks to try out.
I'm certainly going to try it. Well, very cool. And other things to consider. And you probably heard me make mistakes today, not using phrases like, as you can see, and then not explaining it. So hopefully, I didn't do that, but if a pic is meaningful to your presentation, to that moment, explain it. Don't just say, and this picture here. I think I need to get better at that. I'm not sure that I'm capturing everything, and I try a little bit harder each time. And then if a text is meaningful, communicate the gist of it, but you don't have to read it word for word. Nobody wants that. And I think I overdid it when I was learning about this, and I thought, well, I misunderstood, I think, with the last accessibility webinar that I went to, and then I'm like, oh, I have to read all my slides. I have to read everything on my slides. And so I stopped putting as much text on my slides, and then I read some others, and it's like, no, you don't need to read everything, but communicate it and communicate the gist of it. Anything on that, Amy?
No, and I just want to let you know, Jeannie, that we're at about 9 minutes left.
Yes. and it's good because we're done with the learning, and now we're gonna get into the fixing. And it's just the right amount of time here. So these are the beautiful inaccessible PowerPoint slides that we have here. And this is the a great slide that Amy put together. And Amy, you actually had pink text. Is my slide accessible is what it says in a beautiful script. And I could not get the color contrast checker to guess it in any way. I changed the color, I changed it into a different font, and I couldn't get it to work. But as you can tell, it is very inaccessible, and I can barely read it myself here. So really, to fix this slide, if I saw this, I would probably just see it and change the font color to something else, you know, a bright red or black, white, something like that. And I probably would change the font too. To
Absolutely.
not, right?
This font should be illegal.
And of course, with that, I'm going to do 50. But, you know, is my slide accessible? That will probably fly. This particular picture, I'm assuming this one does not have. And actually, let's go to the accessibility checker here. And actually, I'm just going to kind of show you the different slides that we have here. We've got a chart that is not accessible. We've got a video that we'll show you in a second. We've got a slide with so much text. And yes, this was a slide I put together for someone a very long time ago. Well, not that long ago, about 5 years ago. This is a slide that's really long and I put together a long time ago, and it has purple text on it. I did that one on purpose, just so you could see the poor color contrast. And then we've got some slides with bad charts and no bullets, and another one as well with no alt text. And then we've got, which I really thought this slide was pretty. You've got a picture of me and 20 some years ago, and a bunch of decorative things on here. I took apart our logo, and just this is not good. So before we correct it, I want to show you this inaccessible video that Tom put together, and you're not going to be able to hear it because I did forget to share when I was sharing. Oh wait, maybe I can do it really quick here. Just going to share again, share sound. All right. Let's see. I don't know why it's not playing. Well,
I'm Mike with North Dakota Assistive, and I'm here with Jameis from Minnesota Star.
Yep.
Kind of a wild corner over here. What do we got going?
This is our sensory corner, so this really allows a person to kind of just chill out, relax. We got some really cool lights, we got some really cool bubbles, we got a lot of different cool things to go with the sensory.
So this is cool for me. What is it?
okay.
Well, Jeannie, that was horrible.
Well, Tom gets all the credit for this one. So what are some of the things that you saw in this terrible video?
Well, first we have font that is not very accessible. It's much too decorative, so it's hard to read what the actual letters are.
Yep.
You had music playing, and it was so loud I couldn't hear what Mike was saying.
Right.
What else? I did see captioning pop up. Was that auto generated or?
That part I don't know yet, does Tom, but I do know that it wasn't synced to the words. I don't sync to
Okay.
the actual speech,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Is that right, Tom? Is that what you were going for there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, there was Mike's and James's names, and then the captioning over the names, and the inaccessible color, and the terrible font, and just trying to have a lot going on, and motion and strobing, and
That's
Yeah.
right. There was some strobe lights in there too. That's right. Yeah. So a lot of things that that you've learned now that you don't do. Tom has been with us for 9 months, and I'm pretty sure you never put together a video like this, but you started before now, being that you were in television, but you certainly learned why, you know, to not do some of these things, and certainly about captioning and audio description. And I mean, it also talks about, it says contact us at info at ndassistive.org, but it doesn't read that out loud for the person who is blind as well. So not only is it inaccessible for someone who's sighted, it's inaccessible, period, for everyone. So if I was given this presentation, the first thing I'd do is open up the accessibility checker, which it is, and then we'd go through and we'd hit, you know, look at all the different things in here that are missing description. Every single picture in this presentation is missing the alt text. So we'll pick this one here, add a description. And, you know, I'm just going to type in junk right now. But, and then it does give you the option to generate alt text, but it's, you know, I've never found it to be good. So I don't use that. And after you've done that, then I just X out of it, and it disappears. So each one, you go in and you add a description. Whoops. Do that. And I do that, and then it disappears. And so for each one that you've done there. And so I'm not going to keep doing that. And then you've got some missing slide titles. So basically you're going in there, and then we need to add a slide title. And what I've done is just type it into here and do it that way. And oops, I see I marked it in the wrong spot, but just going up here, and you're able to type in the slide title. Is that how you kind of correct things when you're doing it, Amy?
Yep, absolutely. And again, when you click on the particular error, it's going to take you to the exact point in the PowerPoint. I know we're right at time, but
We are.
the one thing I did want to mention too is whenever I start with a PowerPoint, I'm going to start with a template. If you don't have, if you're not maybe with an employer or in a school that has templates, accessible templates ready for you already, you can go to the PowerPoint file tab, and it will give you the option to search for templates, and you could search for an accessible template. And then step 2 would be to turn on the accessibility checker. Those are really my main takeaways. Also, I just want people to know, give yourself grace. This takes time, and just the fact that you're aware of it and you're working on it is a great start.
And there's a lot of different links for you to go out and learn way more than you've learned today, and in the PowerPoint, and that will be posted in a couple of weeks. And our contact information is also on the last slide here. And it's start.program@state.mn.us and info@ndassistive.org. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right. Well, have a great day today.
Thank you. You too.